What's up, everybody? You're very welcome along to today's show. We have an absolutely jam-packed lineup of stuff to get through. We'll have a look over last night. We'll have a chat around transfer gossip as well. And of course, towards the end of the stream, I'll be dipping in to see how you guys are feeling, both after that Real Madrid loss and of course ahead of the massive game against Aston Villa coming up at the weekend. Anfield Agenda is the place to keep it locked, folks, for all your Liverpool news. So don't be going anywhere. Don't put the kettle on. Time to strap yourselves in. We've got 40 minutes or so before I ask you guys to head over to Jack Gill, who's doing a watch along of the PSG Bayern Munich game on Mundo Sporto. How are we? Thank you for being with us as always. Thank you for all your amazing support over the past few months. The numbers we got yesterday were truly ridiculous, so thank you for all of that. As you can see, we've hit 86,500 subscribers. We wouldn't have done it without you guys. We wouldn't continue to do it without you. So from all of us again, much love and thank you for being with us. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you my impressions, my post Real Madrid thoughts, if I can, after yesterday. We were all obviously angry yesterday. We were all pissed off after the way the first 45 went. But in the cold light of day, it is still possible. Now, of course, we got to look back at last night with some realism. We were absolutely played off the park at times. First 45 minutes was utterly unacceptable. There were mistakes there that could have easily been avoided. Good play from Madrid as well. No need to take the credit away from them. They deserved their victory and I stand over that. But I feel like the big topic of conversation is going to be around Naby Keita, and I will be talking about Naby Keita's potential transfer away from the club a little bit later on in the stream. But what I do want to start out with was Naby Keita's performance yesterday in those 40 minutes or so that he was kept on the pitch by Jurgen Klopp. Now, in hindsight, it's easy for us to be all geniuses. It's easy for us to all sit here and say, knew that wasn't going to work. But you know what? I've got to hold my hands up to this one, ladies and gentlemen. I've been somebody who's been a supporter of Naby Keita since he's come to the club. I've made and covered every excuse possible for the lad because I've seen the talent available, and I genuinely believe that it was just a lack of fitness, a lack of being able to keep up with the rigours of the Premier League that was stopping him from being the superstar that we all thought we'd signed. That changed for me yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, and it hurts me to say that. What I seen in that 40 minutes from Naby Keita was utterly unacceptable. He looked like he didn't want to be there. He looked like he was half-arsing it. He was pulling out of challenges. He wasn't doing anything that we expected him to do. What we wanted from Naby Keita and Gini Wijnaldum yesterday, and the reason that I believe Jurgen Klopp put the two of them in the midfield, was to have the legs. They look at Toni Kroos, they look at Luka Modric, and they thought, with the experience of Gini Wijnaldum, with his running ability, with his absolute fitness levels that are through the roof, and with Naby Keita's ability to break lines, pressurise and run, I thought that that's what Klopp went with. Now, I'm not by any means saying that Gini had a great game, but Naby Keita had an absolute stinker. So much so that we've seen what we very rarely see from Jurgen Klopp, a substitution in the first half, and it was justified. And you've struggled to find the Liverpool fan that doesn't feel it was justified. And that's the turning point for me with Naby. I don't want to speak bad of the lad. I'm sure he's got every good intention. But at the end of the day, there are certain players this season, and I'm not pinning it all on Naby Keita, but there are certain players this season who have either got lackadaisical, who have run themselves into the ground, or who just have, I won't say given up, but not shown the same fight that they have over recent years. Jurgen Klopp has been let down by some of these players this season. Now, that's not to say that the manager hasn't been at fault. Of course, we can pick holes in what Jurgen Klopp has done, and he certainly has made a few errors of judgment along the way as well. But that 40 minutes yesterday in the quarter-final of a Champions League, away against the 13 times winners of the European Cup, from Naby Keita and Trent Alexander-Arnold in the first 45 minutes was shocking. Now, I also want to point to the fact that there have been some people on social media that have been reacting to Trent Alexander-Arnold and reacting to Naby Keita with racial abuse. Let me point out, there is no place, not just in sport, not just in our club, but in society for that type of behaviour. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a game of football. I know it means a lot to us, but nobody has the right to abuse somebody's performance by judging them on the colour of their skin, their race, their sexual orientation, or anything along those lines. Those two boys don't need us to tell them they had a stinker. I know I've said it about Naby Keita, I'm giving my opinion. They know they didn't play well. But at least Trent came out in the second half and tried to improve things, played a great ball through to help in the assist with the first goal, or with our only goal, the ball into Diogo Jota, and he's upped his game a little bit. He knows he's going through a weak patch, but let's remember Trent is still a very young man. But that racist behaviour that has crept back into the sport, and it's not Liverpool fans that are guilty of it alone, it's right throughout the sport. But it's unacceptable and it has to be stamped out. These players know when they don't perform. They don't need us to tell them. Other words, what we're going to end up with is all footballers removing themselves from social media, because God knows they're not getting the support from the social media companies to protect them. So I just wanted to take a second at the start of the stream to mention that, because I'd seen it creep back in yesterday. I absolutely back the football club stance on this. My apologies, even though I've had nothing to do with it, go out to Trent and to Naby, because it's unacceptable that anybody treats another human being that way because of the colour of their skin. It is entirely unacceptable, abhorrent behaviour, and it shouldn't be creeping back into the sport. And it's up to us as football fans to stamp this shit out, ladies and gentlemen. We can't let it go on any longer. It is ridiculous. Day after day, week after week, we are seeing players being abused for having a bad game, not because of the performances. I think players are okay. Players understand that people will critique their performance, will tell them what they did wrong on social media. That's our part as fans. But to abuse them because of the colour of their skin, because you want to find a scapegoat to lash out at, that is entirely unacceptable behaviour, and it is not befitting of these lads, befitting of our football club or the sport that has already had a bad reputation, that many people have been fighting hard to rescue the reputation. So it's got to stop. And I know it's none of our guys in here, nobody I've seen from our subscriber group, but that doesn't make it any better. It needs to stop. Whoever these people are, they need to be found, they need to be stripped of social media, and they need to be prosecuted for their behaviour, because these people shouldn't have to live with it. The professional footballers, whether you're a musician, whoever you are, you should be treated equally. You should be critiqued on your performance, absolutely. But that's where it ends, ladies and gentlemen. Other words, we're going to not get the access we've had and seen and been used to over the past few years to footballers, behind the scenes stuff, their personal lives, their families. That will be all taken away, and we won't get that beautiful insight. So I just wanted to say that at the start of the stream. And yes, I critique Naby's performance, but I believe that is my right and your right as a football fan. Yes, the same with Trent. I believe that's our right to do that. But nobody has any right to abuse somebody because of the colour of their skin. Anyway, ladies and gents, let's get back to that game against Madrid last night. Couple of things. I spoke about the referee during the game, and when I say the referee was horrendous, I mean he was horrendous for both sides. I still stand over the fact I believe Real Madrid should have had a penalty. I said during the game that Sadio Mane was getting absolutely no protection from the referee, so much so that Jurgen Klopp felt it necessary to go up to the referee and say to him that you've afforded Naby no protection, that he was being fouled over and over again. In the build up to one of the Real Madrid goals, we should have had a free kick up the other end of the pitch. Now that's not making an excuse for the goal. We had plenty of time in between that free kick not being awarded to stop that attack. So I'm not using that as an excuse for Real Madrid scoring, and I'm not using any of this as an excuse for a defeat. We deserved to be beaten yesterday and the better team won. It's up to us now to get our house in order and get ready for the second leg at Anfield next week, because that away goal could be absolutely pivotal to any hopes we had. I know it sounds strange, but 3-1 is far better than 2-0 because we got that away goal. Now, it was 2-1 at one point. We could have kept that. We could have perhaps gone on and gotten an equaliser. And I did like that Jurgen Klopp pushed at the end, that he brought on Firmino, that he brought on Shaqiri, that he tried to play more attacking football, and we did have Real Madrid sitting back for the past 10 or 15 minutes. But Toni Kroos came out and said that they knew what they were at. They were targeting our left-hand side because they knew their left-hand side, our right-hand side, because they knew Trent Alexander-Arnold could be exposed if he's caught further forward, and that they probably wouldn't be getting the coverage from Mohamed Salah to track back and offer that support to Trent. That's where the likes of Jordan Henderson is absolutely vital in our team. Toni Kroos also pointed out that they man-marked Fabinho. They knew how important he was going to be in that game yesterday, and these are lessons that we need to learn. One of the main problems that I found yesterday with that performance was you have footballers who are aging in Toni Kroos and Luka Modric, absolute superstar midfielders, perfect players. I'm not going to knock them, but they are aging. And what did we do? We gave Toni Kroos all the time in the world to get his head up. We play with a high defensive line. Our game is based on pressing and pressing at the right areas at the right time. If you give somebody of the calibre of Toni Kroos the time to get his head up under no pressure and pick out those straight or long diagonal balls to his forwards dropping in behind our high line, you are going to get punished. And that's where I was very disappointed yesterday, both in our midfielders and in their forwards. Because in our successful periods, we'd seen Mohamed Salah, Bobby Firmino, Sadio Mane pressing, giving nobody time on the ball. We gave them far too much respect yesterday, and we were punished for it. Punished badly for it. Now, we can all sit here and say Thiago should have started. We know that. We know that now. We know it more than ever. But it's important that we get it right for the second leg, because we're not out of the tie. There's a mountain to climb. It's not going to be easy, but we can do it. So we've got to get our house in order. But we can't carry any passengers in that second leg. We just simply can't. So we're going to have to talk about some hard changes. We're going to have to talk about potentially dropping a few players who have been around for a long time. And yeah, I'm talking about Sadio Mane, for those of you who are wondering. I'm going to give you my predicted 11 right now. I'm going to do what I never do. I'm going to give you what I would like to see beforehand. I normally only do this a day or two before the game. But I sat here last night and I sat for a very long time thinking about what I'd like to see. And this is what I've come up with. I'd like to see us play with a 4-2-3-1. I'd like to see the back line stay as it is, because basically we don't have any other options. Could we bring Nico Williams in? Perhaps. But let's think about this. We need to try and pen Madrid in. We need to try and press them. We need to try and get the cross. We need Trent there. Robbo looks absolutely shattered. But again, I'm going to leave Robbo in. So the back five stays as it is for me. Then I'd like to see Fabinho and Thiago in the midfield too. Fabinho and Thiago in that too. And then I'm going to bring in Bobby Firmino. I'm going to go 4-2-3-1. So I'm going to play Firmino and Thiago in the two. Left hand side of that tree, I'm dropping Sadio Mane. And I put Curtis Jones in there. Bobby Firmino in the number 10 role. Mohamed Salah out in the right. And Diogo Jota through the middle. That's what I think we need to do against Real Madrid. Because as much as I love Sadio Mane, he was greedy at times yesterday. He was petulant at times yesterday. He talked himself into a ridiculous yellow card. And he quite simply isn't in form. And we should be okay. We should be able to say that. Doesn't mean we don't love Sadio. Doesn't mean he won't come back around. But he hasn't been doing it for a while now. He hasn't been performing at the level we know he's capable of. And I don't know why the answer to that is. You don't know what the answer to that is. The only people that will know that are Jurgen Klopp and Sadio Mane. So that's my bold statement, folks. That's what I would do. I would drop Sadio Mane ahead of the next one. And of course, I'd drop Gini Wijnaldum as well. And of course, without saying Naby Keita. And I'd go with that 4-2-3-1. Because we've got to get the first goal in that game. We've got to make it count. And we've got to put Madrid under pressure. Much like the Barcelona game, only for a little bit less of a mountain to climb. James said, I'm a Leicester fan. I've got to say, I wouldn't take Keita. We've got enough midfielders, and especially with his performance yesterday. Respect. I'll get on to that in a couple of minutes, James. Thank you for the super chat, mate, and welcome in. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about yesterday's performance. You've all had time to digest it. You've all had time to think it through. Maybe we've all calmed down a little bit. As always, when these things happen, when we get defeats like yesterday, people jump onto social media looking for scapegoats. I was called everything from a cancer victim to a potato to a nonce to a fat ball prick. Everything, because apparently it's my fault Liverpool lose, or apparently it's some of the players' fault, or apparently everybody looks for a scapegoat. It's time to calm down, be rational. I was as angry as any of you yesterday, but when the 90 minutes are up, the 90 minutes are up. That's what I'd like to say. Now, I want to come over to you guys and see how you're feeling about it. Hassie said Mane has been poor for a long time. Jones needs to start, said BM. We've done it before and we can do it again, said Beta Jake. And I absolutely agree with you, my man. We can do it again. I mean, we are up against the Real Madrid team. With the greatest of respect to Real Madrid. They aren't the greatest Real Madrid team of the last 15 or 20 years. Far from it. That's why I was so shocked yesterday that we showed them so much respect, that we were so passive. We should have been up in their faces and we should have been absolutely determined yesterday. And will having the second leg at Anfield have any benefit to us without the 12th man inside the ground? I genuinely don't know. All we can base this off is that so far this season we haven't been great at Anfield. But the guys need to get it right ahead of next Wednesday or we're in a whole world of trouble. Richard Ashcombe said Mane looks a million miles off. That's a massive shout, Craig. I'd be inclined to agree. It's a very difficult shout, mate. I love Sadio. But what I'm not seeing from Sadio, ladies and gentlemen, is what we used to see. Sadio picking up the ball and running at people. Going around the outside of people, taking them on. There was an incident yesterday. I seen a brilliant freeze frame somebody put up on Instagram. 85th minute. Sadio Mane picks up the ball, goes past a few players, and he freeze frames it just at the right time. It's before Sadio's dispossessed, but Mohamed Salah is in acres of space on the right hand side. Feed that ball through, and Salah has a great opportunity to go through on goal, and we could have been sitting here talking about 3-2. It's that type of decision making that has been the difference between Liverpool of old and Liverpool of recent. We all get a bit carried away with the win over Arsenal, but don't get it wrong, Arsenal were horrendous. We made a show of them and we beat them easily, but they weren't Real Madrid. They were horrendous. Madrid came out yesterday hungry for that game, and we need to show that same hunger, that same appetite, and that same determination at Anfield next week. Did I hear about the racism? I spent a few minutes talking about it, Cahill, mate, at the start of the stream. Is it true that Adrian is in talks over a new contract extension? According to Adrian, apparently so, yes. There is a report there that suggests that he is looking to sign a new contract, but in the same article it does suggest that he knows he's third choice keeper, which, you know, signs a new contract or not, as long as he's behind Caoimhín Kelleher, I don't really mind. But Caoimhín Kelleher has to be ahead of him in the pecking order for me. Play Jones against Villa and see how he goes starting against Madrid. That's a good show. Or one, yeah. And we'll be doing the Aston Villa preview video, recording that tomorrow. That'll be out on Friday afternoon. So I'll be giving you my predicted 11 or my score prediction. And Jack Gill will be catching up with Leon from our sponsor, Boyle Sports, as well. I can't do the predictions today, Ross. I will be doing them beforehand, though, mate. Trent should be a right midfielder, in my opinion, said Casper. It's getting to a point, Casper, where he almost is. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but if you look at what João Cancelo has done at Manchester City, we've seen a similar thing, albeit on the opposite side. So if you look at Trent's pattern of play and you look at his red areas on the pitch, a lot of the time he's drifting across through centre. So he is almost playing at that. But are we going to drop Mohamed Salah to play Trent on that side? That was the only question I would have, mate. There's no doubt he has the ability. He's got the passing range. But he also needs to have the defensive work as well if he's going to play in right midfield, because he has to come back and cover. There was one point in that first half yesterday, you might remember if you were on the watch long, I absolutely lost my mind. Trent Alexander-Arnold either gave the ball away or had a cross blocked. I'm not sure which one it was. But he jogged back as the ball was played out to the left-hand side to Vinicius Jr. and we were scrambling to get back. Trent was jogging back. Jogging back. He gave the ball away. He should have been busting a gut to get back there and help out his cover, because Vinicius Jr. and Mondi ripped us a new one down their left hand side yesterday, and we've got to be aware of that. We should have known that was coming, and we should have been doubling up on those players to give support. But because of the laziness coming from midfield, because Naby Keita looked disinterested, and because Gini Wijnaldum had one of his worst games for a while, we didn't do it, and we gave them too much respect, and we got what we deserved. Alisson should have done better on the third goal as well, by the way. He's not going to be immune from any criticism from me, as great as he is. For me, he should have kept that one out. Our own goal, Mohamed Salah, very good finish, fair play to him, but I don't think he impacted the game enough either. We're not seeing enough attempts on goal. We're not seeing enough final balls being created and brought to Liverpool players. We're just not testing goalkeepers enough. We need to find a way to do that. We need to mix up and vary our attack, because it's too predictable. We need to show Real Madrid something that they're not expecting next week, because they seem to have our number yesterday. Zinedine Zidane, Toni Kroos and that Real Madrid midfield seemed to know exactly what they wanted to do and executed it to a T yesterday, but we were left scratching our heads wondering how the hell we're suddenly 2-0 down and could have been 3 or 4-0 down before half time. You could see how angry Trent was in the second half. He played better in the second half, but two moments in that game that Trent was part of. The first goal, the long ball over the top, Phillips and himself, both of them. He drops in between the middle of them, and I still to this day, well, it's only been one day, I still to this moment do not understand why Phillips didn't pull Vinicius Jr. down when he had a hand on his shoulder. Trent was there right beside him, so he had a covering defender. Wouldn't have been a red card. Would have given away a free kick. But that's the type of shithousery, gamesmanship that you'd get from Madrid, that you'd get from other teams in the Champions League, because it's about getting the result at the end of the day. It's not about being nice, guys. It's about getting the result. We've seen Vinicius Jr. go down feigning an arm to the face from Trent when it hit him between the shoulder and the neck, got Trent booked. That's what we need to learn. That's what we need to be aware of. And that's why I was a bit disappointed that Phillips didn't just drag Vinicius Jr. back before he got into the box and give away a free kick. But saying that, they were both caught out. Vinicius Jr. was allowed to drift in between Trent and Phillips, and it showed the inexperience of both of them. because it was entirely preventable. And if we had Verge out there, even I would say if we had Fabinho at centre back, it wouldn't have happened. Although I do agree with Fabinho being in midfield. Then the second goal, I don't even know what to say about it. One of the first things that you're taught as a young footballer, anyone who's played the game will know this: don't play the ball back across your own goal mouth. And he somehow, I don't know what he was trying to do. He could have volleyed it, could have done that, but he headed it straight to Asensio, who couldn't believe his luck. Alisson came rushing out, had time to lift it over Ali, look over his shoulder and tap it into an open net. 2 goals that were entirely preventable. 2 goals that if we had a press from the front, for the first one in particular on Kroos, he wouldn't have had the time. If you play a defensive line like we do, you need to press and press and press so people like Toni Kroos can't get the time to get their head up. We've seen it happen earlier on in the season when Villa absolutely destroyed us, and we've seen it happen again yesterday. And that's not just down to the defence, that's down to the front line and that's down to the midfield as well, doing their job and busting a gut. In my opinion, Jones should play the playmaker winger role, said Danielo Saric. Thiago name itself scares opponents. Yeah, look, Thiago came on and immediately we looked better. Thiago moved the ball. I'm not saying he had the greatest game, but he controlled the midfield a bit more. We wrestled back a bit more possession. He was allowing and freeing up Fabinho to do a little bit more as well. And we certainly looked a lot better. I mean, if you think Thiago isn't suited to the Premier League and some people think that he's not there yet, surely in a European game like that, that's Thiago written all over. And that's before we even talk about the fact that he's a former Barcelona player and probably has an inbuilt dislike of Real Madrid anyway. So I'm baffled by that decision by Klopp. But I can't look back in hindsight. I understood his thinking when he did it, but it wasn't executed well enough by the players. So Naby must have been shown something in training that we weren't seeing. Now, we have a chance to still put this right, and importantly, we got to get the 3 points against Villa on Saturday because, as things stand, you know, we've an uphill climb to stay in the Champions League. We need to try and get back into the competition for next year, and the only way we can do that is by picking up another 3 points against Villa this weekend. Well, I say another against Villa, you know what I mean? They whooped us earlier on in the season, but we got 3 points against Arsenal, we got 3 points against Wolves. Now we need to follow that up again against Villa. Right, ladies and gentlemen, before I move on to talk about transfers, which mean don't go anywhere, stay still, we've a couple of things to go through here. Want to take a second to say thank you again to everyone. If you are enjoying the streams here on Anfield Agenda, don't worry, we've got lots and lots of stuff coming up for you. We're going to be streaming every day, we're going to be putting out videos during the daytime as well. Lots of content ready for the summer. But if we can ask you one thing, I know a lot of people don't super chat, a lot of people don't become members, that's absolutely fine and we understand that. But if you can do me one favour, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video. These type of things mean the world to us because it helps us on the road to 100k. 100k could be an absolute game changer for this channel, both in terms of YouTube's algorithm and in terms of our appeal towards sponsors and other things moving forward. So if you do like what we do, please take a second, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video. Right, folks, let's have a look at the transfer gossip, shall we? We'll go with Naby Keita first, will we? Because somebody, a Leicester fan, came in and mentioned that one earlier on. So this comes from Football Insider, and they reckon that Leicester City are monitoring Naby Keita and could potentially make a move for him. They go on to say the 26-year-old has been struggling to make an impact at Liverpool, which is pretty true. But what really intrigued me about this article was the price tag. So they're saying that Liverpool would be willing to sell Naby Keita for around £30 million. So that would be what, us taking a £24-26 million loss on him, which, you know, you understand part of that in football finance where we are. Valuations have dropped a little bit, but I wanted to know what you guys think about that. Would you take it? And I don't know if Leicester will or won't come in, but let's play fantasy manager here. Leicester City come in, they bang £30 million down on the table for Naby Keita. Would you take it, folks? Let me know in the chat, yes or no, because it is about time that I get in on this conversation. Because as I said, I've been somebody who's defended him a lot. I've been somebody who maybe has been a little bit blinded by loyalty because I was aware of what he was capable of. But I'm also a realist, and I have to admit that he just has not done it enough since he's been at the club. So to me, 30 million in there, I think there's a conversation to be had if it's true. Of course, it's transfer gossip. We don't know if it is or isn't true. But I want to know what you guys think. The Leicester lad is right, said Danilo. He probably is. Again, Leicester are very good at spotting players and midfielders. And they're very good in their transfer business. So Abdullah says, yes, I take it. Honestly, great transfer, said Debowski plays. Shane Duffy said no. RSH14 said I would take it. A couple of others as well. WFM says yes. Kieran says no. Cave said 70 million for Keita looks like a joke. We didn't pay 70 million for Keita, mate. We paid 54, 56 million for him, so we can stop the 70 million hyperbole, which quite isn't true. They're not going to give us Maddison, mate, so we can stop about Robert. I'd love it, mate, but they're not going to give us James Maddison for Keita. Martin Gillespie says no, he could come back to haunt us. He could, yeah. I mean, ideally, if you are going to move a player on, a player that, you know, has potential to maybe be good, but he is 26 now, let's not forget that. He's not still a 21, 22-year-old anymore, but I do get where you're coming from. You'd rather move him abroad, ideally, yeah. What else is there? I would take it, Craig, says Nikhil. He's a baller on his day, but he's often not good enough. Rather get a more reliable midfielder, even being less technically gifted. Dylan Murphy said, we do need someone better, so I'd let him go. Tala said, evening Craig, I think Keita's had long enough to prove himself and it hasn't worked. I take the 30 million and run with it. Would take it, need the money, said Izzy XCX. Francis Cleary says no. Jesse said we need Haaland or someone who'll show up on the big nights. Did anybody see, I'm sure you did, at the end of the game between Dortmund and City yesterday? A couple of things on that one, by the way. Jude Bellingham was absolutely robbed of a perfectly good goal, so that was a joke. But did anybody see the moment between Foden and Haaland at the end of the game? There was a pretty serious friendly conversation going on there. And also, I'd read a report today that one of the assistant referees asked Haaland for his autograph, which I'm sure seems very unprofessional, but there you go. What's this gentleman's name? Vibav? I'm so sorry if I've mispronounced that, which I'm sure I have. Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Genie out. Yes, definitely reinvest into Mbappe, said Harry with a little wink. I love that, mate. We'd all love a bit of that. Tala said Keita for Barnes. Now, you know, I love Harvey Barnes. I think Leicester City fans like Harvey Barnes as well, and they know what he's capable of. But, I mean, if they were willing to even negotiate as part of that and money on top for Barnes, I have to say, Tala, I'd take that. I do like Harvey Barnes as a footballer. Add-ons as well in that contract comes close to 70 million. No, it doesn't. It doesn't come close to 70 million, mate. I mean, we can make it up all we want, but the fact of the matter is, the add-ons, most of them won't be triggered, I don't think. Maybe they have, I don't know, but from what I've read, I know it depended on where. Now again, Gethin, excuse me, my man, and other people, I'm absolutely open to be corrected on this, but my understanding is that a lot of it depended on where they finished in the league. Leipzig the year that we bought them, Champions League places, Europa League places, whatever. We did pay over the odds a little bit as well to get in there early, but I know there was add-ons, but I still don't think it quite climbed that high. But again, I am open to being corrected on it. Who replaces Keita? We'll get to that in a moment, mate. I do have something for that as well. Keegan Murphy, excuse me, said I don't know if Klopp will even start Keita again after yesterday. It's going to be a difficult decision for him to make, mate. I mean, he spent so long and the club spent so long tailoring a fitness program to make sure that when he did come back that he was ready, that his body was able to stand up. And, you know, it's been posted around in the media that Klopp was really, really liking what he was seeing in training from Naby Keita. And that's why he gave him the nod. But to say he was massively let down, I think is an understatement. Because it wasn't just that he had a bad game. His attitude looked, now I have to say looked because I'm not inside Naby Keita's head, but it looked absolutely horrendous. Hello, Project Zorgo. How are you, mate? What else we got? I prefer Haaland over Mbappe, said Hassi. When are you streaming the Bayern match? I'm not streaming it, mate. Jack Gill is going to be streaming it over on Mundo Sporto, and he starts 5 minutes after this stream ends. So there is a link to Mundo Sporto in the description as well. So if you want to go over and subscribe, we've just hit 16,000 subscribers on that channel. We've only been going since December. So Jack's doing the game today because I've done a load of games over the past few days. So I'm going to do some other stuff that I have to record for some stuff for Manscaped and a few other bits and pieces that I have to do. So I won't be doing that game, but I will be back on Mundo Sporto tomorrow for Granada's game against Manchester United. So I'll be doing a watch along of that one. But don't be fooled. If I'm not there, Jack Gill's very, very good at what he does. So I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun watching the game with Jack if you get a chance. A couple of other bits and pieces I want to talk about. Simon Buendia, Izzy said, I'm not 100% on Buendia. Neuhaus, I still have to be honest, Beta Jake, I still don't know enough about Neuhaus, the guy from Mönchengladbach. I still haven't watched enough of him. There is a name there though that somebody has brought up that I'm going to bring up to talk about now, and this piece of article comes from Gazzetta dello Sport, and they claim that Liverpool are pursuing Ajax youngster Ryan Gravenberch. The 18-year-old has 3 caps for Holland, reportedly seen as a potential Gini Wijnaldum replacement, according to this article that comes in the Echo via Gazzetta dello Sport. And it says Manchester City and Chelsea are also mentioned in the report as being interested in the teenage midfielder who's made 37 appearances so far for Ajax and started each of the Champions League games, and apparently he's valued at around 35 million euro. Now, again, I'll be honest here and say I don't know too much about Gravenberch. I don't watch a lot of Eredivisie football. I have watched a few bits and pieces in the Champions League, but not enough to give an honest opinion of him. But if you have clubs of that calibre sniffing around them, and you broke through at 18 already, and you're in the Ajax team, you have to have something about you, because we know one thing about Ajax Football Club is they're not short about bringing through talent. Right, so there was something else in about Gravenberch I wanted to just read from your comments. He would be nice. Gravenberch would be nice, said Dabowski Plays. He's really good, said George. He'll never walk alone. He's a baller, says Shane Duffy. What about Kante? Do we need another... I know Kante can... Excuse me, how do I phrase this? I know Kante isn't just a holding midfielder. I know he can play a bit further forward, but... I don't think that will be the right move. No doubt, look, we all love N'Golo Kante. I mean, absolute baller of a player, but I think we've got enough. I think we need somebody, if we're bringing in a midfielder, one who has legs, who can be a box-to-box midfielder. And most importantly, we need more players that can break lines. It was one of the things I liked most about Naby Keita, and he showed it once yesterday, his ability to break that Real Madrid line. And that's something that we need a little bit more of, whether it be a Houssem Aouar, or whether it be somebody else that comes in. We need somebody that can just break defensive lines and give us that bit of space to exploit in behind. I've never seen him play, said Brian. Me either, Brian. I'll be totally honest, mate. I don't tell any lies on here. I've not seen much of the lad at all. You honestly need to calm down on Naby. He's a great player. You need to question why Klopp will throw him in. Also, why isn't Gini and Manny not getting stick? You've obviously missed half the stream, mate, because I've absolutely given both of them stick on this stream. So if you're going to have a go at me, please make sure you get it right. And again, I'll reiterate, and any of our subscribers will tell you, I have been somebody who has defended Naby Keita from the very start all the way through his entire Liverpool career. If you look behind me right now on my wall, there's a framed Naby Keita shirt there. I am no Naby Keita hater, but don't tell me I need to calm down, mate. You look back over the time he's been at Liverpool and tell me, have we got the money's worth? Now, you said, why isn't Gini and Mane getting stick? I spent 5 minutes at the start of the stream giving both of them abuse because they were both terrible, particularly Sadio Mane. I even said I would drop Sadio Mane ahead of the second leg. So if you're going to come in late, mate, don't start giving me shit for stuff that I've already covered because you're showing up to the stream late and you want to have a pop. I've already given them my fair critiquing, mate. So I'm sick of people like you coming in, giving a Billy Big Bollocks when you know fuck all about what's after going on. So know your place, shut the fuck up, or come in on time. Because I'm sick of dealing with people like you, mate. I don't deserve to have to put up with crap from idiots that think they know everything and they've missed half the stream. So shut the fuck up, mate, because I'm sick of it. Reckon Sadio has long COVID since he got COVID and he looks tired and slower. Potentially, George. I mean, we do know that people recover from it in different ways. It did take some players longer than others to come back, and it's true. I mean, I don't know. As I said, I'm not inside Naby's head, nor am I inside Sadio Mane's body, but you would think that this type of stuff will be picked up by the medical staff and the training staff. So they're obviously seen enough in Naby training to see that he's worth it, or he's in Sadio training to see that he's worth a start. It's tough because I love Sadio Mane, one of my favourite players, but he's going through a difficult patch at the minute. Best LFC channel, stay blessed, my guy. Thank you, mate. And look, you might think I'm being a bit harsh on that lad there a second ago, but I'm not on here to be abused either. I'm sick of it like Trent is, like other people are. I'm sick of coming on and being used as a scapegoat. Every time Liverpool lose, suddenly it's my fault on social media somehow. Every time Liverpool lose, I'm an embarrassment. I'm a jinx. By using that same logic, Am I an absolute gift? Didn't I win us the Champions League and the Premier League? This hypocrisy does my head in. I'm absolutely happy, like I said earlier on, about the fee for Naby. If I'm wrong on that, I'll hold my hands up and I'm open for being critiqued on it. I'm open for being corrected. But don't come and have a go at me for shit that I've already covered. Well, and thank you for the super chat, by the way, double AOM, mate. Absolute superstar. Somebody said, what about Canade? Thank you for reminding me. I did want to talk about Canade because there's been varying reports around Canade today. So we'd seen one of the Leipzig directors, I think it was, come out and say that he'd rang Liverpool and he'd been told that there's no interest, and said that Canade won't be moving to Liverpool this summer. We've seen another report then suggest that, we are still interested. Now, I know for certain that Liverpool are interested. And the reason I know this is one of the guys on our podcast, Steve Bland, is very good friends with David Ornstein. They work together at the BBC. David Ornstein's a top tier journalist and he's absolutely certain that Liverpool are interested in Canade. That's not to say we're 100% going to sign him, but the interest is certainly there. Now, to cover what the Leipzig director said, or at least the Leipzig staff member, I don't want to say director if I have the wrong tier of person at the club, but we don't have to tell them if we have any interest in Canade or not, by the way. All we have to do is go in and put a check down for the release clause, and there's absolutely sweet Fanny Adam that they can do about it. And they also have to realise that he's got 1 year left on his contract, so unless that they get him to sign a new contract before the end of the season, there ain't much they can do about that because he's willing to, or he's able to sign a free contract. So I know we're definitely interested in him. We know what the price is. There's been talks that some parts of his medical have taken place. That I can't confirm for certain. I don't know. But I do know we are definitely interested in him. And for me, and this is just my opinion, I'd like to see us sign Canade and I'd like to see us sign Kabak. And if you don't think Kabak's good enough, I understand that as well. But as I said to you before, let's be cynical about this. If you do sign Kabak and he goes to the Euros and does well and you still don't want them, you can sell him for a profit. Hassie said Canade is injury prone. Untrue. He's had one injury that spanned 3 different periods out. He had an ankle injury that kept him out for 49 days this season. That much, yes. But other than that, he had one injury that took too long to heal. He was rushed back, and that's the majority of his injury record. So we did look into this, and there was a very good thread on Twitter from a lady whose name I can't remember. Put a very good thread on Canade's injury, and if you do look into it, go into Transfermarkt or anything, it shows that one lengthy period out was because of one injury he was rushed back from, and that covers most of his time out, to be fair. So it's a bit unfair to say he's injury prone. What's happening with Van Dijk? I don't know when he'll be back. I haven't got a clue. I don't know about Henderson when he'll be back. But I do know that the club are looking to get Fabinho and Van Dijk tied down to new deals. We should sign Gundogan. Okay, Robert, I mean, let's be realistic about it. Do you think Manchester City are going to sell us, who has probably been their best player this season? Let's be realistic, mate. We ain't signing Gundogan. What do you think about buying Pulisic? I'm all for it, mate, the weekend's liar. I'm all for it. I was on record before he signed for Chelsea to say I want Christian Pulisic at Liverpool Football Club. Now, he is a player who's had a few little muscle injuries and stuff. I can't argue with that. But to me, he would be an absolute superstar in our system, and I would love to have Christian Pulisic at Liverpool. And I don't know what Chelsea's plans are for him. I don't know if they want to raise a few quid to maybe try and get somebody like Mbappe or somebody like Haaland. I don't know. But if it's on the table, there's an offer and availability. And there has been some murmurings from his side that he's not happy about the amount of game time he's getting. I'd have him in a heartbeat. I absolutely would. I think he's a wonderful footballer. Where do you think Liverpool should finish? 5th or 4th, mate. We've a chance to get 4th, but it's so hard because we haven't been able to put a run of 5-6 wins together this season, which is nuts. If we can do that, we've got a very good shout at getting to that last Champions League spot. Do you think Canade is the right one? Yes, I do. I think, look, are there better centre-backs out there? Probably, yeah. I mean, are there other ones, if money wasn't an object, that I'd go for ahead of Canade? Yeah. But that's not the way Liverpool do business. We look at it from a perspective of value. We look at it from longevity and potentially a profit down the line. And with him having 1 year left, with the release clause, I think, yes, it's a very good move from the club. And I think with Jurgen Klopp and Pep Lindner's coaching, I think he could be brought on leaps and bounds. But I'm not by any means saying he's the best centre-back in world football, but I think it's a good fit and a right move at the right time. Now let's not forget we hope to have Gomez and Van Dijk back anyway. So we're talking about maybe him coming in competing with Gomez to replace alongside Virgil van Dijk. Would I want Suarez back? Yes, I would take him, and here's why. I'd move Divock Origi on, whether we get 15-20 million from, and even if we can't find the right forward, I'd get Luis Suarez in for one season to add experience along there with Jota, Salah, Mane, Firmino, and give us a better attacking option. Even if it is just for one season, because he could potentially leave Atletico at the end of the season. They're also worried about João Felix maybe moving on, and yeah, I would. And usually I say no, but I have to be honest. If we could get rid of Origi, I'd take Suarez for 1 year until we reassess Harvey Elliott, until we look at maybe a Patson Daka, who would also like, by the way, at a reasonable price, around 20-25 million. Are we interested in Gravenberch? Sorry. Yeah, I did a little bit on earlier on, mate. There was a piece today suggesting that Liverpool are interested in the 18-year-old Ajax midfielder. A couple of clubs are interested in apparently an Ajax value of somewhere around 35 million euro, according to the piece in Gazzetta dello Sport anyway. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to leave it there. But remember, Jack Gill is going to be live right now. There is a link at the top of the chat if you want to go straight over to Mundo Sporto for Jack's watch along at PSG Bayern Munich. I'll be back on here tomorrow for a late night agenda or a news show ahead of the game Granada against United, which I'll be doing on Mundo Sporto. So again, make sure you have your notifications turned on. Make sure to drop a like on the stream, and please make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, thank you to Boyle Sports, our sponsor. Thank you to you guys for all your love and support, and hopefully we can turn this around. But we've a game at the weekend first, so let's build towards Aston Villa. I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening. Enjoy yourselves wherever you are. Much love, take care, and up the Reds.